So I'm going to get us started. A little bit of, here we go. And
Nice artwork.
graphic, thanks. Me and Canva getting at it. So just going over sort of what we're gonna tackle while we're together today. Again, we've got about an hour and a half and we have packed it out. A couple minutes, just kind of bringing everybody up to speed. Then, guys, this is our 5-year anniversary party. We've been around for 5 years. So we wanted to take a second. We're always sort of forward focused, which is great, but it's always good to see where we've been and how far we've come. So spend a couple minutes looking at that first 5 years in review, and then take a few minutes together to in small groups of 2, 3, 4 people, talk about it. What's our favorite memories from the past 5 years, and where are we excited to go in the future. We're going to spend some time highlighting 2024 specifically and programmatically, what we've been up to and where that's leading us in the coming year. Then we're really going to drill down on what is top of so many of our minds across the nation and in the upcoming election, and what we're doing with a couple of programmatic things there that we would really love to bring up to speed on and get you involved with. As we love to do, we want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk together. So we've got some group breakout conversations related to some of our programming, and then we'll wrap it all up. So we're really going to try and keep it on time as much as possible. But we'll jump right into it. I want to start off. Andrew's not able to be here today. Again, Sundays in August, but had a little message he wanted to share with us. So we'll start with that.
Hey, everybody. I just want to welcome you to the National Assembly of the People, celebrating our 5th anniversary, if you will. It was 5 years ago that 100 citizens from all 50 states came together in DC to first articulate the people's will and to help create the organization that Katie still leads. I want to thank all the staff who worked tirelessly over the last year to put together not only this event, but an event and a project I want to tell you about that's very exciting. We executed the first citizen assembly at the state level in New Hampshire, and we are still in the process of the action phase, and it mirrored some of the elements of what we did in DC, but we started with a whole listening process that went across every county in New Hampshire. We had hundreds of people who came to the table and voiced concerns, and then we began to winnow down those concerns to items that we brought to an in-person assembly with a representative body, like we did in DC, in Manchester in late June for 3 days, where citizens from all backgrounds from across the state broke bread together, got to know each other, and then got down to work and agreed on 4 different pieces of model legislation that they are now in the process of presenting to the legislature in New Hampshire. It's exciting because the citizens not only showed up, but they got very excited about what they were capable of. Not only because they wondered if they could find common ground, but also if they could agree on a credible process that they all could support. So there's so much learning that we got from it, and we are absolutely committed to doing it again in other states, possibly cities and towns, and eventually nationally. We believe that the work that began 5 years ago is crucial if our country is going to evolve and stay together. A country that does something together can stay together. And I think the citizen assembly model that you all have been part of since the beginning in 2019 is the model. It's been used overseas where elected officials have asked for help from citizens to come in and arbitrate, if you will. And here we believe the citizens have to bring it to the elected leaders and say, this is what we're asking for. This is the 70 or 75% agenda. This is the way forward to get above party politics and the death match that we know our politics has become. So I want to commend all of you for showing up. We have a lot of work to do. We're still a small organization, but we have broken new ground in this project in New Hampshire. We've done a lot of work on creating an online video platform that would allow us to do this at scale, which we think is very important. We've also been doing some testing with collective intelligence. So we believe we are well on our way to building the potential of this organization and the potential of the citizen assembly process. So I hope you will all participate today, feeling some of that pride that you all have played a crucial role in sustaining us throughout these years, and will obviously, hopefully, sustain us in the future. So once again, thank you for being here.
Lost my PowerPoint. Hey, everybody.
Time. I was hoping everybody could put your name and where you're zooming in from in the chat. It's always fun to see how many states we've got on the line. I think that's fun.
All right.
And
everybody else, sorry about that.
And as Andrew said, it's pretty cool that we'll hear more about New Hampshire, but we finally did it. Coming out of the National Assembly in DC when we started this organization, bringing 2 people from all 50 states. We said, would anybody want to do this back home? And we actually had about 6 or 7 states who were all trying. And then the pandemic happened, but New Hampshire was like the little engine that would kept trying. And we finally have been able to make it happen, which is really exciting because it paves the pathway for getting investment to do this all across the country. So we really quickly wanted to go over the last 5 years and take a second to recognize all the stuff that's been done. There's a lot more than is just on this list, so feel free to throw in some of the other stuff that you can think of in the chat. But we kicked off with this idea of, do we actually have anything in common? Do we have shared concerns for our country? Do we have shared vision for what our country could look like if it was living up to our values? And that's when we started our Declaration of the People, which if you go to the people.org/declaration, you can read, but it's really been our guiding principle since then. Taking what the American people want to do and finding a way to make it happen. We also then began committees, and that's when the Voting Rights Committee is also celebrating its birthday of 5 years. And our Grants Committee too. Those 2 have survived all the way throughout, which is pretty exciting. We had like a bunch that have come and gone and had different trajectories, but then in 2020, we were kicking stuff off at the state level, and then COVID happened, and we recognized that we needed to make sure in this very unprecedented time that we could have a secure election. So we created the SAFE Challenge, Also, in 2020, the census was happening and there was redistricting happening in every state around the country. And there were 16 different states trying to pass a ballot initiative to end gerrymandering in their states. We helped with that. I don't know if anybody remembers our press conference with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that was pretty fun. In 2021, we launched our Citizen Engagement Forum series. We were surveying folks across New Hampshire. We were also building plans for what were we going to do in 2022, where we launched Operation Vote America, which is really focused on how do we help people understand how does the election process work and make sure that they have accurate information they can trust about how everything from what the heck is a statewide audit for our elections to how do I get registered to vote and everything in between. We also launched deliberations.us, which is our online platform to connect citizens, but especially high school and college students to each other to talk about what kind of future do we want in this country, where they learn about civics, they learn about an aspect of our government, something like the Electoral College or the redistricting process, even just the history of voting day. And then they think about, do we like it this way or do we want it to look different, and have conversations on that. We kept with peace at the polls to make sure that the 2022 election would not have the repeat violence of 2020. And then in this past year, in 2023, we were able to formally launch New Hampshire Together again, which you'll hear a lot more about. And then our Respect Voters Coalition, which is focused on the ballot initiative process and connecting practitioners and all of that. We have had thousands of volunteer hours doing very good work. We have created a social media presence. We've had amazing newsletter presence, our website, Lynn's columns, all of the different information we've been able to put out and have people engage on, Votopedia. We've also worked with over 25 different nonpartisan good governance campaigns, whether redistricting, looking at primaries, looking at how we vote, looking at getting money out of politics. We have helped a lot of different efforts, some of them which have been our own volunteers, and others are folks who have come to us looking for help. So it has been a beautiful year. Sarah, if you can go to 5 years, if you can go to the next slide. So we just want to say thank you and take a second to let it all in. It is not easy starting anything, but especially a organization focused on being actually nonpartisan, focused on how do we bring in perspectives from across the aisle, and launching that basically as soon as unprecedented worldwide pandemic started. So there's been a lot of switching gears and figuring out what's the best way that we can be helping the country at this time. And none of that would have been possible without you. I wish that more of these pictures were in person instead of just Zoom, but it has been such a fun ride and just want to say thank you. So as we kick off today, that's actually where we wanted to start. You want to go to the next slide, Sarah? Oh, or I can. And we wanted to give you guys a chance to talk to each other really quickly, and talk about, let me maybe throw them in the chat. What was your favorite memory from the last 5 years on what we've been able to do together? Or if you're brand new, it could even be just in this past year. Where's my chat? There's the chat. There we go. Okay, do the questions in the chat. So what are your favorite memories from our first 5 years, and what would you like to see us prioritize in the coming year? I think it's been really interesting. The more we help both our work with the Voting Rights Committee, but also just help talk to other people in states across the country, I think a lot of us have been exhausted by the political polarization for a long time, but it's really coming to a head. We saw in New Hampshire, we did a lot of polling there that literally 98% of that state is like, we have to actually do something about this. I don't want to keep living with the extremity that is our American political system. And I think that's where we ourselves together have a really unique opportunity to do something across the country that stands up for that. So anyways, excited to hear what you guys will think. So we'll break up into smaller groups. Again, if you are looking for the breakout questions, just check the chat. But what are your favorite memories from the last 5 years, and what would you like to see us prioritize in the coming year? We'll talk for a couple minutes in small groups, come back and hear what you think. All right. I saw a couple thumbs up.
Okay, have some good conversations. We'll see you in a few minutes. Tony, I think you may have stepped away. If you want me, can move you into one of the breakouts. Just let me know.
I ended up.
Welcome back, everyone.
I just wanted to say my first exposure to this movement was the New Hampshire Citizens Assembly in June, and it was a phenomenal experience. And so that's my memory. But I don't have a 5-year scrapbook yet. I'm only a newbie this year.
So at the 10-year assembly, Paul's going to have so many things to say.
Yes, I'm ready for it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Welcome
Any
back,
other
everybody.
major highlights we wanted to that came out in the conversations? Good. All good memories, I hope. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll keep chugging right along. Katie, you want to jump into our highlights?
I'm gonna say one of my memories, and we used to have on a pretty regular basis, but I know during COVID it was a different situation. The citizen engagement, I don't know, meetings, seminars. They were really like more of a seminar, you know. And I just said that mine was when I got to work with Katie. So she actually gave her whole gerrymandering speech, and she goes all over the country to the people itself. So that was one of my favorite memories.
Yeah,
I'll
we
shut
got
up.
That's great, Elena. I appreciate you sharing that. And we've got some really good citizen engagement forums coming up, actually. So please mark your calendar, everybody. They're going to be I think they're going to be very interesting, very fun, and just like very timely too. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I think there we go. All right, and then get into slideshow mode. I just hit that. Okay. Can you guys see my screen okay? My computer's being a little laggy, but all right, we wanted to do some quick updates on our current programming. So Jasmine, I can throw it over to you for New Hampshire, or I'm happy to keep going. Oh, you unmuted.
Oh,
and
I
then
can't get off mute. I can do
There
it,
you go.
Katie. Awesome. So really quickly, because Andrew did a great job of doing an overview, but I also want to pause for a second and highlight Martha Madsen, who's on our call, and she was our on-the-ground director for the New Hampshire Together program. But just a huge success in terms of the Citizens Assembly we held in Manchester in New Hampshire. We had the intentionality around how the delegates matched the demographics of the state was so cool, just by age, political affiliation, religion, not gender, race, all of those things was really great to see it represented in that one space. And I forgot, what was it, 12? How many total policy agendas were put forth, Katie?
Yeah, 11. Mm-hmm.
11, and 4 were actually voted on by the supermajority vote. And the threshold was really high, which was, I think, 75%. And so that was really great to just see the process and see the delegates so engaged. And since then, just a little over a month later, we developed the 4 new volunteer-led subcommittees to really drill down and make sure the work of those agendas continues to move forward. And right there is just a really quick list of the committees that have been created. I won't read it out just to save time, but And just to know that those meetings have already started taking place. They are happening bi-weekly. We've had some really, a really great guest speaker last week. And to see the amount of work that has happened in the last 6 weeks, I would say, and what is planned to go forward has been really great. So shout out to everyone working on the New Hampshire project. It's done a lot. It's continuing to move forward. And also just a quick plug for the website, just in case you want to see what's going on, read about it. It's www.newhampshiretogether.us, not org.us. So definitely make a chance to visit it.
All right. And in case you were curious about what those policies are, they're both on our website, and I was going to list them here really quick too. So basically, the first one is about how do we increase confidence in voter elections? So wanting to have the Secretary of State be more proactive in actually providing education about what happens at the state level to citizens. We had them come to the Citizen Assembly, and people got to like test ballots and that kind of stuff, and it was really cool. So I think after seeing that, it was like, yeah, once I can actually ask questions, I do have confidence that all of this works the way it's supposed to. Another was a single ballot primary. So making it so that you wouldn't have a Democrat and a Republican primary. There would just be one with all of the candidates on it. Another one of their policies. Trying to create standards for civic education, having it have curriculum like a lot of the other core subjects do, and then fixing redistricting to address challenges, creating an advisory independent redistricting commission. So the goal is to hopefully either work directly with the Secretary of State's office to implement the changes where we can do that, and then pass laws for the other ones on that end. We also were able to film the event there. So we have a quick video that I don't want to play quite yet. But wanna show it to you guys. We're also still editing this video. So if you have any ideas on how to make it sharper or just any feedback, we'd love to hear it. But this will give you a little bit of taste of what was happening there. And I'll make sure that I share my computer sound now.
We are making some history here. The first ever statewide citizen assembly where citizens can articulate their will around specific issues and ask for action to be taken on those issues.
Politics at the national level feel really disheartening and feel really stuck. When you bring average citizens together, you can actually break through the noise, break through the kind of culture wars, break through the vitriol, and actually focus on what matters to people.
Listening and talking, that is what has drastically disappeared from our society and how we manage our government. And to be surrounded with other people that are willing to spend their whole weekend to try to make the way we manage our government work better for all of us, it's motivating.
The regular citizen don't typically get the opportunity to take such a deep dive into the way we can resolve issues. So when you're doing 3 days of deep learning and listening about an issue, you're going to walk away from that experience changed just based on that.
I came to this weekend full of hope and promise, and honestly, it exceeded my expectations. I haven't felt this good about the future of our state in a very long time. Seeing citizens work together like we did over the weekend truly gives me such hope and promise.
Everybody knew coming in here that we would hear each other out. We wouldn't be dismissive, and that this was, most importantly, a safe environment to express your point of view without feeling worried for your job, for your life, for your safety. And so this environment allows for that to take place. And I think that's what makes this such an amazing opportunity.
For so many decades, we counted on our elected leaders to be the ones to solve our problems. We would elect them, they solve the problems, everybody's happy. And that is no longer happening. So it's fitting that the citizens have come here to be the problem solvers, to be the ones who are going to model legislation and then push for that legislation.
We've had members, past and current, of the legislature that have been here to present and speak briefly, and some of those current members have been very excited about this. They are looking forward to seeing what we have to talk about and what we are interested in, what we want to push forward.
This citizen assembly model is a way out of gridlock. It's good for any issue. Today we're talking about democracy and elections and voter confidence and polarization and responsiveness. But we could really use the model of the citizen assembly for other issues, mental health, housing. There are so many issues that we're facing.
I think anyone could benefit from this experience. I've just learned so much from others, learned about the legislative process, learned about new policies, learned about what people care about in the state of New Hampshire.
I think everybody should try to do it. I can't understand anyone not wanting to do it. It's all our government. We all need to choose to spend some of our time to do this. And, you should start with, what do you think should change? Have your input be heard.
We are going to have a domino effect, I think, with this. I think other states are going to say, wow, did you see what they did in New Hampshire? We can do that too. We can get citizens together who aren't like-minded, who think differently, and we can come up with common ground. It's really not that hard. It really can be done. I promise you, I just witnessed it.
All right. So if you have any feedback, feel free to throw it in the chat, but just wanted to share a little bit of that New Hampshire magic with everybody. Now I need to figure out how do I go to the next slide. There we go. Okay. So you've heard plenty about New Hampshire. I will share some of our other projects now. So one of the other things that the Voting Rights Committee in particular had brought up. Oh, yay. Powerful as it is. Love it. Are you guys seeing my screen right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you are. Okay. I was only seeing all of your faces, so that's why I was confused. Sorry. Okay, perfect. So one of the Voting Rights Committee had kind of brought up, and it's also been a theme since we started too, that citizens being able to get accountability requires tools to do that. Politicians, our election process doesn't necessarily have incentives all of the time for folks in office or political parties to be looking out for everybody, sometimes just themselves or special interests or whatever that is. So the ballot initiative process that about half of the states in the country have right now, where citizens can come together, write a law, gather a bunch of signatures, and then put it up to citizens to vote, kind of bypassing the legislature. That has been one of our focuses to learn about, to help other people understand that that's a tool. And we've also been helping citizens and the people volunteers use that process, whether at the city level or the state level, to try and make good governance changes happen. And so through that work, we started to see that basically there wasn't a national movement uniting all of these independent organizations that were helping with the ballot initiative process that was nonpartisan. There were a couple that existed that were partisan, but that meant they would only help certain states and certain campaigns, depending on whether they felt like that would help the Democrats or the Republicans. And it just kind of felt like citizens, the whole point of the ballot initiative process is the citizens in that state should be deciding what they want for their government. So we launched late last year the Respect Voters Coalition, which is dedicated to that ballot initiative process. And we have 4 pillars of that work, which you'll see listed here. Defending against attacks. So the legislature, as citizens, use the ballot initiative process to change things like redistricting, or even looking at healthcare, or like a bunch of other issues, looking at like farmland regulations and stuff like that. Like the legislature tries to then make it harder for citizens to use. So we want to help with defending against those attacks. Strengthening it means that there's different laws that apply to how you can use the ballot initiative process in each state. And some of those laws aren't great. They could be strengthened. They could make it so that you're insulating that process and making it easier for citizens to use, while still making sure that it's a good process and the legislature has reduced ability to get rid of it. renovating is our way of saying using it. How do we renovate our current democracy so that it can be up to 21st century standards? A lot has changed in America over the last 248 years. So how do we make sure our laws can reflect that? And then actually expanding the ballot initiative process. That's another thing that we didn't see actually any national organization being willing to say they want to do. If there are folks in a state that don't have the ballot initiative process who want it, we want to help them figure out how to get it. Not every state used to have this process. And so the fact that some people think that it's too hard to ever get, I think is kind of silly, because if it happened once, it can certainly happen again, and everything's impossible till it's possible. So anyways, here's some of our folks, some of the organizations that are part of that coalition. I know some of the people representing those are on the call today, so thank you. We have respectvoters.org that you can go to too. One of the big things that the coalition's trying to do is actually get everyday people like all of us to know that the ballot initiative process exists and that it is being attacked, and that there is an opportunity here to also use it to fix things. So there's an open letter at respectvoters.org where you can sign that you're in support of it. And we're hoping to run newspaper ads and billboards showing like, hey, there are actually thousands, ideally millions of Americans who are paying attention to this. Because a lot of times the legislature thinks that, hey, nobody's paying attention to this, so maybe we can change it. Well, no. We also have been busy in Michigan. There's a ranked choice voting campaign called Rank My Vote. The folks who are leading it got their start co-volunteering with me back in the day working on redistricting. But we've been just trying to, they're an example of one of the many groups that we've been providing guidance to on just like, how the heck do you use the ballot initiative process? Like, what does that look like? How do you organize volunteers? So we provide that feedback and learning opportunities. They were successful this past year in getting 3 cities to have ranked choice voting, and they're looking at a statewide initiative to cover all of Michigan in 26 that we are also planning to keep helping with. So if you're interested in ranked choice voting, there's a lot of opportunities we can plug you in both in Michigan and outside of Michigan, but just wanted to share that that was happening. And yes, I know I went quickly. I wanted to make sure we have enough time for the breakout. So if anybody has any questions, if you just want to raise your hand, and if there's no questions, that's fine too. But happy to go into more details. Yeah, Mike, go ahead. Oh,
I'll just comment that on ranked choice voting, a little while back, we had, going back to the forums, we had a wonderful forum with some of the top peoples. What's her name? Kara in Maine, the mother of the ranked choice voting, a guy from New York City, really a substantial forum. And so we're really proud of our forums and the way we're able to bring issues and you know, spread some news for people.
Totally. Yes, I think that's great. And we do have that recorded if anybody would want to watch it. But also, if folks want a current update of like, hey, can we hear from, there's like actually 6 states looking at implementing a form of ranked choice voting statewide right now. So if you guys want to hear from those campaigns, we're happy to pull together a panel on that too. Just want to make sure it's of interest. Awesome. Love it, Elena. We should help. All right. Any other questions or anything? Oh, Lynn, do you have one? You're on mute if you're talking to me. Oh.
I just want to underline something you said about the legislators not being able to block ballot initiatives. If you go back decades ago in South Dakota, there were a number of ballot initiatives passed by people, and then somehow the state legislature was able to come back and negate those, reverse them, or whatever. So
I think Dre's in your choir there, Dre.
Oh, you're on mute too, Dre, just so you know. Still on mute. I see your mouth moving. I'm assuming it's to us, but
Yeah, so just very quickly, in South Dakota in 2016, we passed the most progressive campaign public financing law in the entire country in little conservative South Dakota. But of course, the legislature didn't like it, and they repealed it in about 3 or 4 weeks. It was shocking to me. I didn't see that coming, but that's what happened. Lynn is right.
one piece of good news, and Don, I'll go to you next, but Michigan and then, oh, what was the other state? maybe Arizona. Who was it? But we just had 2 lawsuits go to the state Supreme Courts over something very similar. So like in Michigan, it was a minimum wage bill had been passed in 2018. And the legislature basically just changed it as soon as it got passed. They changed the meaning of it so that it would go into effect 30 years later. And the Supreme Court just basically said that that was illegal and that you weren't able to do that because you were ignoring the will of the citizens, which wasn't precedent before. So hopefully, maybe we can start getting some more precedent or some opportunities out there to make sure that people's will can stay in charge. All right, Donna, go ahead.
Yeah, this is very exciting. I'm sorry. I was curious if you're working with Braver Angels that has a standard workshop called Common Ground, where they bring people they make it so that you have to have an even number of, and I don't know what happens to the independents, even number of people from opposite sides, and then they hash out together. Have you ever worked with
Yeah. Yeah, we have. We've attended and gotten trained by them, and we've done some events together. And also a really interesting thing is Braver Angels, they have a pilot, I think that's fair to say, in New Hampshire actually with the legislature trying to do that. So they have like a Democrat and Republican co-chairs who are in office who then have created a caucus of other representatives who are willing to talk across the aisle. And so they were actually at our New Hampshire Together event. We came and brought them in. And what's exciting is we were just talking to one of the chairs and she said, normally I don't know that I would, like fully endorse all of this, but the fact that it has come from the people, it's been this deliberative process, like that's exciting. And we want to support more of that kind of stuff happening. So I feel like they've been a really good partner on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mike.
You're on mute, Mike.
Yeah, real quick, with the forum we had, which is really excellent on ballot initiatives. Ray, as a matter of fact, was one of the presenters, also Michael Calgano from Oregon, and Katie, and maybe someone else. It turned out to me, I thought it was interesting, because we were there and talking with each other, a lot of them were relatively new, and Katie had some really critical insights as to the kind of things you can build into an initiative in terms of legality. She said it ends up being a lot fatter, but there are things you can build into it and the way you craft it that keep the legislature from being able to undermine it and destroy it. And so I thought that's the kind of advice that friends will give you and your enemies won't tell you, and they'll laugh,
Very true. All right, we're going to keep moving. We've got a couple more updates, but then we'll be talking to each other once again. And Sarah, I think we're going to talk about this? Yes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So we have 2 kind of really exciting programs under the 2024 election strategy that we want to share with everybody. So the first, as you know, OVA, Operation Vote America, is not new to us. This will be kind of our 3rd cycle, or no, 2nd cycle in. But from the beginning, it was all about getting people educated, engaged in our elections. So for those that aren't familiar, in 2022, we focused on Michigan and Arizona because, as we know, voting policy laws, all, state and local. So we wanted to make sure that in whatever state you're in, things like registration deadlines and what happens to your ballot after it's cast, all of these things that aren't necessarily common knowledge and are different state to state. Should you be moving around, or should you just not know what's going on necessarily, especially with updates to legislation? So we've had big dreams of expanding that program, and we hope to keep doing that in the future. As far as what it looks like in 2024, we have an opportunity to work with a foundation, kind of expanding our work that we've been doing in New Hampshire, and really getting people engaged in the primary ahead of the general election. People that would tend to show up in the general, but getting them also to become regular primary voters, and looking at the data there that can be used. Again, we love ourselves a pilot program and how we can learn what we can learn and make some adjustments and expand. So we're really excited about that. The funder's excited about the potential for expanding that, which obviously is music to our ears. Where we would love to get people involved whether you're in New Hampshire or not, we have some policy research analysis stuff, not as complicated as it might sound, really looking at, for one, what has changed since 2022? Are there updates that we need to do to the information we have out there so that what already exists, as far as OVA is most accurate? And then some additional research specific to New Hampshire. Ryan is running those programs for us, and so we would love to, get you guys connected if that's something you're interested in. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And then next, Engage for Democracy. So we are super excited about this project. This is something the Voting Rights Committee has been working on for months and months. Big shout out to Mike and Peg and Fernando and the team, Tony and everyone that's been really putting their heart and soul into this. So what we, again, in the name of getting everybody engaged and informed, what the Voting Rights Committee has come up with is a project that is going to be kind of a fun way to collaboratively be in on this together and be making sure that everybody is fully prepared, has all the information they need, and is really getting engaged in the process up until the election. And the way that we've done that is we've created sort of an online challenge program. And I'll go into it a little bit more and show you what that looks like in the next slide. But our goal is to have as many people as possible involved. We've got a couple different organizations we're partnering with so we can kind of network out and get the biggest audience possible. Starting with the people that are right here, right now. You guys have been with us since the beginning. A lot of you are members of our House of Delegates that we are making the extra special ask of to please help us into not only participating, but also kind of promoting the project. And so as I'm going through in the next slide here, what this is going to look like, if there's something that you're interested in doing, dropping in the chat, just saying, hey, that, the week of September 30th, that's something I really want to do. And I'd be happy to help highlight that. If you drop in the chat, then I can follow up with you. But essentially every single week, we've got something that we want everybody to be a part of, and it ranges. It might be a social media post, it might be a virtual event you're attending, it might be something you're researching. So we wanted to kind of shake things up a little bit, but every week is something that's going to help us in promoting that engagement and help make sure that you are ready to have your voice heard in the election. And it launches tomorrow. So this coming week, we are asking everyone to sign on. We're gonna be using the hashtag Engage for Democracy. We've got a Google form sign up that I'm going to share with everybody. And we just want you to kind of commit to being a part of what we're doing. There's a weekly email that's going to go out. So signing on to that Google form is going to get you all set up with that. And that email is going to have everything you need as far as, hey, here's what we're up to this week. Here's some resources, here's some reminders, here's this beautiful calendar that Canva and I made that you can take a look at every week. So that's what we're going to jump off with. And then in the sake of time, I won't go through every single one, but just kind of touching on, we're going to spend some time like checking your status, making sure, like I said, stuff has changed. So making sure you are registered, everything is set with if addresses are changed or anything. We've got a really exciting citizen engagement forum coming up that we touched on, talking about.
Can I mention that one, Sarah?
What's up, Mike?
Let me mention that if I could, as one specific. On August 27th, really excited about this. 4 years ago, we did the SAFE Challenge. We were in the middle of COVID. We really were able to have an impact on people voting on the higher numbers than ever, even young people, because they could vote by mail. Thanks to Dre, we talked with Barbara Smith Warner, who's the director of the National Vote at Home Institute. They are the experts on the vote at home and its status and so on. She's going to be our headliner for that forum. I'd really encourage you to come, and we'll have another presenter or two. But she's a wonderful person, and we'll find out what has happened to the ability to vote by mail. There's been people have attacked it and people support it, but I think that's something I'd suggest. As Sarah's saying, there's so many opportunities here, but I'd really suggest you circle that one on your calendar. and August 27th as a good jumping off point.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. And we'll have all that information too at the end of today, the link to make sure you get all the details on that one. Again, as you can see, lots of cool stuff coming up, other citizen engagement forums. We're going to have some social media challenges, some conversations, like Donna mentioned, with what Braver Angels does, using kind of templates like that to have some bridge building conversations. And she does a variety of things so that between now and the election, everybody is really getting involved, and that it's a positive experience, right? Like, it's not, sometimes there's like a cloud of ugh, but we're taking it back, and we're going to make this a really good positive run up to the election. So that said, again, if there's one that you would be interested in helping us promote, you can just drop that week into the chat and I will follow up with you. Now it is time to talk to one another. So we just gave you a whole bunch of information about, oh, that's the QR code to sign up. Thanks, Katie. We'll also throw the link in the chat, but go ahead and snag that QR code if you want to get signed up for Engage for Democracy. And now, talking about the conversations. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 different breakout groups. We're going to spend 20-ish minutes together, 25 minutes together. And we want you to choose what you're most excited talking about. So the first breakout group, Piece of the Polls, as you saw with the Engage for Democracy, the calendar, project calendar we just showed you, it is very intertwined into what we're doing. And you know, kind of the umbrella of everything is that we think everybody should be able to participate in the process in a very safe way. And so we have some conversations we want to have related to that. The second breakout is going to be talking about the citizen assembly process. Obviously, what we were just doing in New Hampshire that Andrew and Jasmine spoke about, and what that looks like going forward, what state we might focus on, what are the things about the process that we're really pumped about. So that's the second conversation. The third one is about ballot initiatives, like Katie was talking about with Respect to Voters Coalition, and a lot of the work that we do, the voice of the voters in the ballot initiative process is super crucial, and we have some stuff we want to talk about there. So what's going to happen is I'm going to open up the breakout groups, and what's going to pop up for you is the option to choose which of those breakouts it's going to be named. So it'll say Piece of the Poll, Citizen Assembly, or Ballot Initiatives, and you can choose whichever conversation you want to join. Makes sense to everybody? Sound good? All right, off we go. Welcome back, everybody. Lots of great conversations. We figured it all out in 25 minutes. I love when the great minds come together. Well, we are just about at time, but obviously would love to hear a little bit about what got talked about. If anybody wants to, you can drop it in the chat, or if anybody had a particular highlight they wanted to share from the conversation. Elena, you look like you just came from a good conversation. What did you guys talk about?
I feel bad. I advocated very strongly that Rhode Island should be the next state citizen assembly, and I feel bad because there were definitely other states that were very interested in being the next one also. So I thought we came up with actually some good suggestions on what to do if you want to do a larger state, you know, the kinds of state you want to look at, you know, are they a non-referendum state? Are they like do they have a lot of independents? Do they have an equal ratio? Are they a purple state? Are they a fully, I mean, there's a lot of options to consider on what you want the criteria to be, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real quick, Piece of the Polls. We're going to make a toolkit to make it easy to share information with people, to stand up against political violence having anything to do with, and threats having anything to do with our electoral system, and trying to make it easy to recruit and to get people to put the word out through their social media, etc.
All right. Well, I want to respect everyone's time. I will keep the Zoom open if people want to stick around, but I did want to note a couple things real quick as we wrap things up. I just dropped a couple of links into the chat. And I'm going to share with everybody too. So a couple things we've already talked about, but I wanted to highlight again, the Respect Voters Coalition that Katie gave us the update on and mentioned the open letter. We'd love to have everyone check that out. Check out the whole website. We've got, as Katie mentioned, a ton of amazing partners, a lot of volunteers and organizations doing some super cool things. And so check out the website and please sign the open letter if you're interested there. The research, as I mentioned with OVA, if you're interested in policy and data analysis, we would love to have some help there. That's also great if you are a person that wants to get involved with what we're doing and might have some sporadic time, or maybe your schedule is a little bit different. And so being able to do something independently, that would be super, super helpful and on your own schedule. We also would love, a little plug for the Voting Rights Committee. As you saw, we've got a lot we're tackling between now and the election, and we would love your help. So we meet every other week. Our next meeting is coming up on the 20th of August at 8 o'clock Eastern. Anybody's free to join. We'd love to get you plugged in and helping us roll out and really make this Engage for Democracy project super successful. And then the last thing is the Citizen Engagement Forum coming up, and you heard how awesome our citizen engagement forums are. The next one on barriers to your ballot, getting an understanding of what has changed and things that you need to know ahead of the election. That's happening, as Mike said, on the 27th. So the link to register for that is in the chat. Lots more stuff going on.
Don't we have
Sorry,
another citizen engagement forum highlighting different campaigns going on too?
we do. That one will be in September. So we've got, and then
I'm sure if we had the date.
we're also putting together one on Piece of the Polls. So between now and the election, we've got hopefully 3, maybe even more citizen engagement forums happening. And we would love to have everybody participate in that. And joining the Voting Rights Committee, or just popping into one of those meetings if you've got more thoughts on stuff like that you'd like to see happen. That's where those are coming out of. So
I'm not
Great
getting,
job, Sarah.
oh, go ahead. Invitation, stuff like that. Is that something where I can just go to the people's site and find a link for it, or what's coming?
Yep.
You're right.
It's planted right there, Connie. Yes, at the there's like an events and meetings part of our website, and Ryan has all the Zoom links right in there. So you can just click right in. Awesome. Freya's here for our first National Assembly.
Yes, I was just going to say it's an extra special
Aww.
because it's the first one with Freya, my daughter.
The celebrity guest here.
Yes, yes, of course. You say hi, Freya? My husband.
Hi. You blow kisses? Mwah, mwah.
You know, I already cared about everything we're doing, but like now knowing that there's a little future voter who's watching makes it even that much more special. Especially knowing that there are people across our country who are willing to spend their Sunday figuring out how do we make this place better. So for that voting engagement challenge, like Sarah said, if you're willing, I have this dream that for each of the weeks between now and leading up to the election, we could highlight somebody in a different state just doing what they can to improve democracy and showing that it's not that hard. Our team will help you. Sarah and I will hop on Zoom. Maybe if you're close enough, we'll drive to you. Just saying, be fun. But if you're willing to help highlight one of those, we'll do the work in figuring out how we can help you highlight. But it would be so cool to show that we've got people across this country willing to do what they can to make the election better. So if you are willing to do that, please throw it in the chat or send us an email. But just want to say thank you guys so much. It has been an amazing 5 years. The next 5 are going to be even better. Can't wait to keep making good stuff happen. Feel free to stay on if you want to keep chatting, like Sarah said, but just thank you so much for your time and for improving our democracy for not only us, but the future ones.
Absolutely. Real quick observation.